ancient times, people didn't have iPhones, so they were guided by their smell.
Yep, have to agree with that. But you don't need your smell to watch this video, so check it out. Hello everyone. Black Mountain is just amazing. It is an amazing place. On today's show, we are going to offer a new explanation for the weird disappearances of even experienced cavers inside this mountain and the many deaths and disappearances associated. Please stay tuned, you might like it. You might find it very odd, but it's what I think is happening. I would like to thank my patrons, and in particular Mark Millet, for requesting a video on this particular topic. Anyone contributing above a certain tier, they can request a video and I'll research it and do it. Black Mountain is simply extraordinary. I don't want to rehash talk of all the disappearances of people at the mountain who have tried to climb into the caves, as that's all publicly available knowledge. The natives called it the Mountain of Death. In short, everyone who goes there exploring its caves disappears or feels its eerie, scary energy and vows never to return. There is a crazy tunnel system through the Black Mountain. It was supposedly formed 250 million years ago, which is actually during a former mass extinction in which 99.9% of the species of Earth were wiped out. It is hard to see how this is not in some way related. Is Black Mountain a product of the mass extinction? Or did the ecosystem around it actually help in some way to cause the mass extinction? Let's examine what else happened at this time. There was a massive deforestation, and in looking at the mountain, it appears today that nothing really wants to grow on it. The stories go that people, horses, and cattle simply disappeared into the mountain, never to be seen again. Yet, where does that energy go? And is the mountain actually feasting? There is talk on the TV show Ancient Aliens that the boulders which make up Black Mountain have actually covered up a massive ancient mining operation. Whether or not this is true, we cannot readily prove. Due to its remote location in far north Queensland and weirdness, Black Mountain is not set up for tourism, and there is only a viewing platform to see it with no walking tracks. To explain how this thing formed, we should perhaps look at why it is so unique. One idea is that the boulders were formed from cooling magma, and they heat up tremendously in the sun. Rain falling on them therefore fractures them up into much smaller pieces. But what about the soil? Where is the soil? This could be a clue to resolving the entire mystery. It seems that when one enters a cave at Black Mountain, if one is foolish enough to do so, one easily loses one's way. The tunnels seem to be very steep, and there is an oppressive stench in the air the deeper one goes. Black Mountain is not the place that even professional cavers would want to explore. There is no soil at all between the rocks, so nothing can grow on it. It's as if the rocks were simply very recently placed there. Is the whole thing somehow alive and dynamic? The absence of soil is simply very difficult to explain, quite unique, and makes it appear to be of recent origin. It's a bit of a smoking gun that something weird is going on that no one has been privy to, and geologists have not offered a satisfying or any explanation for this. My guess is that the only way to explain this is that these stones are actually moving around. That's right, moving around, in a similar way to the stones of Death Valley. Either they were placed there or they simply move around on their own. The key to how the stones are being moved may soon become apparent later in the video, and I must assert this is only my own opinion and not anyone else's, and everyone is free to form their own judgment. Moving stones would explain why people actually go into the tunnels formed and never come out. They are harassed by a moaning sound created by wind moving through the entire Swiss cheese of a structure, possibly resulting in disorientation. But this does not explain why so many fail to make it. It seems that upon hearing the eerie wailings, people panic and then go back the way they think they came through the mountain's tunnels, only to find themselves hopelessly lost and ensnared inside the mountain. What you are about to hear might sound controversial, but I think the evidence might just possibly point towards it. I believe, based on all the evidence, that the Black Mountain has achieved a form of what we might call awareness or life. Due to the various symbiotic relationships it finds itself in. It is a home for bats, pythons, and other creatures, but in particular microscopic creatures. Let's examine how such a symbiosis might work. The steep caves, which one can climb down, but it's hard to climb back up again, sound a lot like what a carnivorous plant would develop. The rocks are all black because they are coated in blue-green algae or black lichen. Accounts differ. All this requires energy from the sun, so where is the energy coming from for rocks deeper down? Does it come from decomposing animals deep in the caves? Is this all coupled to the missing soil mystery? Soil is silicon dioxide mixed with organic matter, which would theoretically keep it in place. It seems the whole pile of rocks is well vented such that soil cannot settle. In addition, the black microscopic life could be denuding that soil of its organic matter, feasting on it. Is this all that's going on? Most disturbingly, it should be asked, does the mountain actually get rewarded in some way for capturing people or animals or whatever? Why are the caves designed to keep people trapped? Obviously, mineral or crystal grows very slowly and is not really a life form at all. The clue is in the life present. In addition, black substance coating the rocks is a conductor of electricity and absorber of energy, possibly psychic energies. It could be that any electrical shocks, lightning, stimulate movement in the rock in ways directed by the life present on the surface of the rock. It is my suspicion that the algae or lichen on a mass scale, which is found everywhere on the mountain, releases hallucinogenic chemicals, compounding the effects of disorientation. There are thus many ways in which this mountain can trip you up. It's like entering a temple in the Amazon, which is booby-trapped in so many different ways that even an expert in booby traps, such as Indiana Jones, is going to trigger them by accident, because it doesn't matter how careful or how experienced you are, the mountain is going to find a way. This indicates that forces of natural selection have been operating over millions of years to actively help it find a way. Most weird. They say that once is a coincidence, and twice is a declaration of war. I do not personally believe in coincidence except in the field of wave mechanics and synchronicity in terms of fractals and repeating patterns. If something is happening, there is a purpose behind it, behind the initial result, causing it to happen in the first place. So what is this mechanism? What's going on? The Black Mountain appears to be a sucking machine, sucking in everything around it, yet repelling or absorbing soil such that there is little trace on its stones. I think the main evil here is actually the enormous surface area concentration of the black algae all in one place. This may be anaerobic, left over from the formation of the Earth, at deeper levels, but it seems there is blue-green algae in other places. The algae is operating like one large system in ways we cannot imagine, and biologists have not yet discovered, to devour energy. Any sort of energy. Fred Hoyle was a genius astronomer, and he suggested that magnetic iron-loving bacteria in outer space, which evolved not on Earth but elsewhere billions of years ago, could actually work together on a mass scale to shape solar systems by warping magnetic fields, thereby creating and maybe perhaps encouraging the growth of even suns to furnish their energy needs. We do not really know how simple organisms can work together, possibly on a mass scale, a kind of psychic masterminding. I suspect this might be going on at Black Mountain and is only one explanation for the weirdness going on. Using the Hoyle explanation, metal containing dark electron-rich slime coating on the rocks, conducting energy, can favorably induce the shifting of rocks around, actually forming tunnels which are biologically stimulated due to the concentrations of lichen or black slime found at different points in the structure. For instance, slime which is slick induces movement of rocks over in preference to areas where the slime is dry. The whole thing is thus dynamic, forming and destroying tunnels as a response to biological stimuli based on predatory feeding patterns. In other words, the whole thing is shifting around, seeking prey. Another feature of the black color is that it can absorb any visible light. So, is this some kind of soul harvesting device as well on a whole other level, and placed here for a nefarious purpose? I really actually don't like resorting to any paranormal explanation, but the mountain exudes so much evil that it might be something to be considered. Could we have an ecosystem existing on both biological as well as spiritual levels simultaneously in a higher level symbiotic relationship? And does this explain the presence of an evil feeling for which it is well known, or suspected that certain entities can feed spiritually as people are increasingly aware? We can go deep into this, but maybe there are just some things that it is better not to know. I'm truly shaken just reading online stories about this place, never having encountered the like for any other place. Overseas people, particularly Americans, like to say Australia is full of things that can kill you. This is completely false. However, in the case of Black Mountain, the description actually fits. The mountain seems to be actually trying hundreds of ways to kill anyone who ventures inside, which raises suspicion that something utterly obscene and utterly beyond our comprehension is going on here, something very deep, very disturbing, very ancient. The Black Mountain itself is an unwitting device in an ancient master plan devised by a hyperintelligence, one of the parts of the demon universe, as Loch Ness researcher Ted Holliday once described it, that we don't necessarily want to visit. In his early book, Holliday said the Loch Ness Monster was an ancient eyeless creature on a huge scale seen in museums in the fossil record. He later threw this out and said the monster is paranormal because too many physics laws have been broken in its pursuit, and it is more likely an expression of the forces of darkness manifesting. The monster manifesting as a creature form of bad energy emerging from the space-time continuum. I believe something similar is occurring here. Biologists should possibly accept, and I think they would accept, that the whole ecosystem of the mountain is geared towards the capture of prey. There are stories, for instance, of people who visit the mountain meeting other people there who do not actually exist. I read a disturbing story of spirits masquerading as a tourist couple, it seems, almost gleefully victimizing and encouraging one unwitting tourist to explore caves and jump down into inescapable situations. The spirits then laugh at the trapped people and try to keep them trapped. It seems like an ancient symbiotic mechanism, perhaps the spirit and animal and mineral worlds altogether, an ecological harmonic device, a ridiculous feeding mechanism beyond the comprehension of today's ecologists who peer at the world through a limited glass. It's a biological ecosystem which involves telepathy and the forces of darkness. In fact, Queensland is full of arcane flora and fauna left over from primitive Earth, monster crocodiles and cycads. Could Black Mountain simply be an example of this, some leftover force where the earlier form of life is still holding out, battling against newer, more sentient forms? I've never seen so many weird stories about just one place, which seem to inevitably result in death. I encourage anyone strongly to avoid the area and follow the lead of the local Aborigines, the people who understand the land the best and who have decided long ago to just stay away. This is one ancient mysteries location you actually probably don't want to visit and explore in depth. But if you do, maybe this abomination is probably best explored by drone from several kilometers away or the viewing platform. There is an energy here which is unknown and obviously expresses itself in malevolent ways. Thanks for watching, please sub, thumbs up, and see you at the next video.